Hi, this is Bill. So in this example, we will talk about record triggers. So in our previous demo, I've showed you a little bit on the triggers on the record. So we have the ability to create it, update it, and so on. So let us show you in the live example. So let us go back and delete this view, and you can see that add the trigger and this record trigger. So every time a record is created or updated, so it can be both. Basically, as you move to the right, you will have this help icon, and it will explain to you what it does. So it gives you an idea how it works. So, but I always recommend to get your hands dirty, familiarize yourself to ensure that what it's saying here, you get to challenge it and confirm how it behaves. Let us basically go to the updated. As you can see, since it is record trigger, it will have this table again. So every time an incident record is updated, then do this action. Because if you have like thousands and thousands of records, then you can basically do a condition. So what are the criteria of your condition? So let's say the first step, it should be active is true. And it could be an or, it could be an and. Let's say we're doing an and, so meaning both of this should be correct, or met. Both of the conditions should be met before this workflow is basically triggered. So behind the scenes, the workflow engine is intelligent enough to confirm that this is what you're trying to run and this is what you're trying to wait for before you take any action. So let's say that it has to be assigned to a specific person or group. And as we do that, and let's go in, so which group do we have? So let's say, is it network group? And so on. So you could go back to user administration and create a group, and it will appear here. So let's say we're going to add every assigned to network group, then we're going to have a behavior again or a condition. So we could now remove this, and we could be sending an email depending on what we would like to happen. And you can see that you could have an and condition, both of them can be true, or you could have an or condition. And as we move forward, it's like how many times that you would like to run a trigger? Has to be once only, or every unique change, or on every update? So meaning is like, for example, you would like to be notified on every change is happening. Then you need to be updated for every update. And can you send me an email or create a new recorded problem in every update, depending on what you would like to happen? Now, as we move to the advanced options, you will have this capability of that on top of the conditions is when to run the flow. So now let's go back to the explanation is like for each unique change, that is when the workflow is going to run. Or basically, if there's already a workflow running, then it will only run once, right? Because it's already running, so it's only initiating one workflow at a time, right? So it's going to be like linear. So meaning it will not override each other. And finally is for every update, right? So if you would like to have every update, then you want to be notified as an example. So depending on the purpose, ServiceNow Flow Designer or Flow gives you this feature set. So to ensure that the correct behavior is running as expected. So we are talking about technology serially. Understanding the technology gives you an advantage on automating different actions, different tasks, right? So you may have a question, why is it not behaving as expected? It all falls back, right, on how you have configured the technology. So this mindset and know-how basically applies not only in Flow, but on also other technologies in the ServiceNow platform or outside the ServiceNow platform, giving you the confidence that you have configured your application as expected. Now, as we scroll down further, so this deeper explanation provides you the different use cases where you could utilize the additional properties or parameters of this technology. So because Flow Designer can also be utilized with integration to third-party applications. So it can be a non-interactive session, right? So because you may be integrating to a REST API, a WSDL, a SOAP, depending. So this is back-end scenarios, which is like non-interactive to the end user, or it doesn't have a user interface, and it happens behind the scenes. And where you have the interactive session, so which is basically an opposite, but you could have a combination of both interactive or non-interactive sessions. So meaning you could have for example, we have created a record in an incident, it has triggered an action. So that is interactive. And now you would like to have a non-interactive session behind the scenes that which integrates to third-party applications. So it gives you that combination of the different utilization on how you're going to run the flow. And you can also add restrictions. And if you establish restrictions, now you have establishing who can run it, what can run it, depending on how you have designed your workflow. And you can also be run by any user. So now you could see that fully understanding the political aspects of your organization or your client's organization on the business side is considered, right? And also the technology aspects, depending on how the environment is designed. Since ServiceNow is a platform of platforms, right? It sits on top on each technology and makes the different technology investments fully integrated. You could be at first like integrating with an HR application who is just provisioned a newly hired employee, and you are now triggering a procurement order for his laptop or a software asset, right? So you could be integrating with an SAP application running the Flow Designer. So you can see now the picture is starting to build on where you could basically utilize the different use cases. So the Flow Designer is capable of doing that, managing applications both outside and also inside ServiceNow and giving one user experience, which is the ServiceNow platform. And as we move forward, it's like a similar picture where the coverage is more into the table perspective, because in ServiceNow you have a parent-child relationship on the table, which is discussed on my administration fundamentals, where you see how to create tables, how to extend tables. Are you only impacting the current table and also the extended tables? So this is one of the powerful features of ServiceNow, is it can run asynchronously or synchronously depending on your purpose. So async, right? So you don't need to wait for the action to finish before moving to the next step, right? Where you could basically run it synchronously, where it could be linear, where each step is dependent to each other. So if you are strict on the steps that you're trying to build, right, that the previous step is strictly needs to complete first, then this is recommended to run it synchronously. But if you like it to run in parallel, right, then you can run it asynchronously. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next video.